Welcome around Fly Box. Today we're going to tie a pattern that's brand new. Never been fished. It's fresh off the vise. This is the time of year where I'm tying prototypes and test patterns based on performance of other flies or performance of different patterns that had specific attributes that seemed to be the trigger point. So this one I believe should do well as a dropper fly. Whenever they're taking eggs or they're looking for brightly colored nymphs or a lot of flash, this pattern I feel just might be the ticket. I'm going to try and get out and give a report following the video, and if you by chance decide to try it this winter, by all means let me know how it does for you, and maybe even offer up a name. Here's how we tie it. I start out with a size 12 scud hook, a heavy scud hook, and a glass craft bead. It's a clear glass craft bead, but it's a gold line bead. I use this quite a bit in a lot of caddis patterns because the gold lining gives it a little bit more glint. And we're going to start off with fluorescent orange ultra thread because this is going to, a lot of these attributes are going to shine through the bead or through the bead into the material, and when we're shooting for a color that's in the background of this fly, when it gets wet, that'll come through the dubbing, which will be this thread. And we're going to start at UTC and work our way back the shank. It's a very slippery and thin thread, but it's a strong thread. We're going to bring this thread back to the midway point of the bend. I'm going to bring it forward a little bit, and we're going to form a thread loop. I would say about a 6-inch thread loop. Oop. Bounce that bead back, push that forward, back out of the way. And then in that loop, since we're going to be using ice dub, we're going to do the loop and wax. So we're going to wax our loop. I'll wax it on both sides. Don't be bashful with it. And we're going to take shrimp pink ice dubbing. I choose shrimp pink because to me it's not pink. It's an orange. It's more of an orange to me. Even when it's wet, it's more of an orange. And that's what we're shooting for. We're shooting for when that sucker spawn is coming off and they're not necessarily chasing eggs, or they're chasing eggs but they're also hitting nymphs, and they're looking for those bright nymphs. Not that you can't still use those bright nymphs, but I'm thinking this will be a crossover pattern that'll double. And then we're going to spin that dubbing loop. I'm using a shepherd's hook. Then I wet my fingers and counter spin it back onto the thread so it's buggy, but not too buggy. And we're going to wrap that thread forward and bring my thread back up to the top here and get it out of the way. Use up my space. I didn't dub all the way to the end, and I lost it a little bit. Don't do that. And we're going to bring our dubbing back to that point midway into the bend of the hook. Like I said, we're not going to build a huge dubbed body. It's going to be dubbed, but this stuff is translucent and you can see through a lot of it. So we want that orange thread base and the orange thread that's in the dubbing. If you're familiar with ice dub, you'll know that your thread comes through it when it gets wet. You wouldn't want to tie this with black thread. Yeah, we got a little bit of a bare spot in there. And we're going to bring just a single layer body forward. And I'm going to bring it all the way up to the bead. We're going to wrap over that, but it doesn't hurt to come all the way forward. It'll help lock in that bead a little bit. And we're going to tie off right behind the bead. A slender UV dub body. And we're going to bring that thread back about the width of the bead back into the abdomen, and we're going to give about a 3-inch dubbing loop. We'll wax it as well. And we're going to use a pinch of white ice dub with UV. This is the UV ice dub. Got a little bit of that additional fiber in it. Like I said, this is a bright fly, but I'm thinking it's going to do what I want it to. Fish will be the test. I do the same thing. I twist it into a rope, and then I just go back over it lightly. And we're going to give a UV white ice dub thorax. Now again, this material is not going to hide that thread. So when it gets wet, you're going to see that orange. Mark my words. And we're going to bring it up tight behind the bead and tie off. And we'll trim that. And then we're going to build a little orange collar behind that bead. Give it a few extra wraps. A few more wraps when we finish. Give that hot spot right behind that glass bead. And then the last step is we're going to pick out that thorax towards the rear. So it gives a little bit of a shrouding effect over that orange, or even if it's an egg, you can take it as an egg, a little bit of a milking effect. You don't have to do too much, because as you fish this, it's going to pick out. Ice dub has a way of doing that. And there it is. What are we going to call it? Have no idea. Will it catch fish? I believe it will. You help me out and give it a try. Offer a name up. Let me know how it does. I'll do the same, and hopefully by next year this pattern will be commonplace in your box. Thanks for watching. Good luck. See you on the water.